Everybody, this is the main viewer, of course. Bad news, there isn't really much news to talk about this week in the Star Trek world and sci-fi world. So we're going to do 90 minutes of Star Trek Day trivia, everybody.
Fun.
Uh-oh, our numbers are dropping. No, we got a lot to talk about. Of course, we got tons and tons to talk about. Lots of announcements from San Diego Comic-Con, lots of Twitter silliness. We love that Twitter silliness. And there's probably going to be a lot of chuckles here and there. So thank goodness, because we have way too much to talk about. So thank goodness we have Screen Rant's own John Orchiola here to talk us through all of it. Who,
hello,
by the
hi,
way,
everybody.
Welcome.
by the way, you were there every day at San Diego Comic-Con. So your head is inundated with Star Trek news, right?
That is true. That is true. I was very, very fortunate. I did 4 days of Star Trek interviews, including the cast of Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. Plus, I talked to Rod Roddenberry and Roddenberry Entertainment. And then I got some lowdown about Star Trek Resurgence to video game. I talked to the creators of that. So I was just pummeled with Star Trek in the best possible way.
Also, everybody just listening in right now, John Orchiola is wearing his original series shirt right now.
Oh,
And
yes.
if you don't believe us, he'll
The
prove it.
Greedo shirt transforms, converts, jumps timelines, and becomes a TOS shirt.
The ultimate crossover.
Yeah.
There it
Well
is. Lower
done.
Decks crossing over with everyone.
Everybody
Right?
listening, he's got a Ritos shirt, but if he covers the R and the I, it says TOS. And you said Mike McMahon gave you that secret, right?
Yes, secret. It's right in front of us.
Yeah. Also, Melissa Longo is here wearing an awesome blue shirt. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. It's usually the shirt color I wear.
Yeah, I found this one in my drawer and I was like, I haven't worn this in a while. I like it. So I'll
Blue
put it
is the
on.
new teal. I don't know.
Yeah,
Nice shirt.
thanks.
Dr. Anne Marie is also here. Speaking of teal,
What?
I
Hi.
don't know. Hey, I don't know. I can't be held responsible for all the dumb stuff I say, please.
I know.
Anne Marie is here, and she has also her head filled with hours and hours and hours of important San Diego Comic-Con information.
From
And,
us stalkers who didn't actually get to be there.
Product of rigorous research.
Yep. Yep.
Love it.
Speaking of research, a man who is no stranger to research, Dr. Mohammed Noor, is also here.
Hello. Pleasure as always to be on the main viewer. Thanks for having me.
I researched something once. Did you know that Kentucky is an American state?
Oh my
Really?
gosh, was
That
this
is
like
true.
an elementary
Really?
school
Yeah.
project?
So
Smarter than a fifth grader.
it only took me a few hours to research that. And
Imagine
We all
Spock raising his eyebrow.
Perfect.
all right, let's just
Pretty
get
good.
into it. Thank you. Let's get into it here. Who is here today? We have Linda Anderegg is here saying hello to everybody.
Oh,
We have
hope you're feeling better
Ben
too.
Ben Genium is here. Chuck A. Linda Anderegg, we already said. David Gregory, DQ, Chuck A. Wayner. Anne Marie's in the live chat. What a deal. Glenn Iverson, of course. Fran Iverson as well. Scott Jensen, Galdu Scott. Let's have some fun and a bunch of others. All right, we're going to go for it. First
Yeah.
things first. Here we go. This one is the first thing because I don't really know what it means. So Anne Marie, we're going to ask you, what does this mean? We are going into the Twitterverse for this.
Oh, this is fun. Okay, this is major that I have not seen articles covered about yet. Okay, here's the thing. So I'm not sure if you guys watch Schitt's Creek. Here, Emily Hampshire is Stevie, this amazing character on the show. So she
She's
was at
awesome in that
Comic-Con.
show.
She's so good. She's like, a breakout star. And so she was at Comic-Con, and one of the things we know about Picard that we had already known was that there was a villain for season 3, a new villain,
Okay.
and then during the panel, like Alex Kurtzman said she, so we know it's a female villain.
Yes.
And anyway, then Emily tweeted this out, and theories are going wild that she's actually the villain
Oh my
of
gosh.
season 3.
Okay, so everybody listening in, it's I guess a picture of her in Picard.
No, isn't
now-
that supposed to be
and it's-
Jean-Luc?
Yeah, I don't
I
think it's
don't
supposed to be her.
And it says at Terry Metalis, but it says make it so. So
Yeah.
what it sounds like she's saying, hey, make this happen, not that it already has happened, right?
Hey.
It's hard to interpret.
I
love her.
have-
I love her delivery in Schitt's Creek, where she does this total deadpan,
Awesome.
like sarcastic. It's hilarious. She's so good at that too. So, I
Mhm.
would love to see her in Picard or in anything Trek related, or honestly, in
Oh my
anything.
god, me
She's just fantastic.
too. I mean, I was
Yeah.
already following her because of Schitt's Creek and Amazing 2000. And this came up on my feed, and I've totally forgotten about it. And then I'll
Yeah.
have to give credit to like seeing that Terry Metalis had like liked this tweet or something. Because I was watching one of Trek Culture's like millions of Easter eggs per trailer coverage things, and this was one they pulled for Picard later on in their video, which I was just like, wow, that's a good
Now,
catch.
I don't know if any of others of us have seen, Schitt's Creek. I watched one episode. It was only because Tim Russ was on one, so I had to watch that one. He was in the sand and he was like, "We ain't found Schitt's Creek."
Ah,
So
different.
speaking of the Picard
It's
villain
false.
that everybody keeps guessing, I've been on record. My guess
Okay, and I
is
corrected your record.
Sayla, because they want to bring everybody back together. They want to have Denise Crosby. I'm assuming it's like getting the band back together. And I'm thinking, well, they can't bring back Tasha, or as Picard calls her, Tasha. But then
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Terry
There's weirdness with the
Metalis,
Romulans still too, so it's fair.
I really think and thought it was Sayla. I felt very proud of myself
Dude,
for that guess.
same.
But then
We're
Terry
wrong.
Metalis says, tweet, quote, "It's not Sayla. It is a
Oh.
new character." But there is definitely a nod to Tasha in the new season.
So that doesn't mean Denise isn't in there.
Yeah. You guys think that he's just trying to throw us off the scent? Kind of like when they said, no, Benedict Cumberbatch is not going to be Khan in episode
Well,
whatever the second movie was, Into
I-
Darkness.
I think it's more like the Brent Spiner thing. He's not going to play Data, but that doesn't mean he's not going to play another Sung. So it may not be Sayla or Tasha Yar, but it could be still Denise
Right.
Crosby.
Like Sayla's daughter or Sayla's
Something.
sister.
Oh, we already seen her
Yeah.
sister. Oh, it's not Sayla. Sorry, we saw Tasha's sister.
Yeah.
My bad. Ishara
Well,
Yar.
They also,
Good
I love
knowledge.
that you remembered her first name.
Yeah.
They also made some sort of reference to maybe seeing Enterprise D again, so there could be some sort of flashback.
Oh.
That was what Patrick Stewart said. Patrick Stewart
Yeah.
said that there's multiple enterprises.
And one had carpet, and he had forgotten.
Yes. Yeah, that was cute.
The other interesting thing with the Brent Spiner thing is that so Alex Kurtzman said, obviously Brent Spiner isn't in the new teaser, but he said it's an old new character, which probably means someone some like his character from season 1 of not Data, the other Sung from that planet.
Altan Inigo Sung.
Yeah, or unless like Eric somehow or whatever the one from season 2's name was, unless he time traveled somehow.
Adam Sung.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, the
because
villain,
he did
if it's a
pull
vil-
out the that manila folder with Khan's name on it. So that's
It's
a loose end that's up in the air,
Mhm.
possibly.
It's Khan Noonien Sung.
I know. I'm always like, why do they all have to sound so
What?
similar? It drives me
Yeah.
insane.
I
need like
know.
I
Yeah,
need,
somebody dropped the ball there back in '87
I
when they
need
were
like
naming
a
those
permanent
characters.
post-it note to remind me of the difference. I always get it confused.
I if it happens when I'm writing about them, sometimes I screw it up.
It's hard. And
Yeah.
actually,
Can
like
mix the
I saw
different-
some articles where it was already getting screwed up also because the way they said old new and people were getting it flipped around with new old, like
Mhm.
which would be like Lore or somebody else, which I mean, I kind of thought that could be the direction they go in, but yeah, it's old new.
If I'm going to guess who the female villain is for Picard season 3, and this is just a wild guess, and it's only because I'm very partial to Issa Briones. But
Before you make that guess, oh, that's a really good one though.
It could be Traveler Kari Sung.
Corey,
Yeah.
Corey.
Corey. So
Corey.
we just put in a new poll. Oh wait,
Show up yet?
did we? Okay.
Not yet.
Hasn't popped up.
I love Glenn Iverson's comment to all the droids
too,
I've
that's
lured
awesome.
before.
But we do know it's a new actress playing the villain. It's a little bit unclear
Oh,
if it's a
do
new
we know
villain. Yes. So that's
Oh.
why this tweet also sort of points in that direction. And she's so versatile and like such an amazing actress. I could see her playing anything.
It's so impressive that you found that, Anne-Marie. That's awesome.
So, well, I mean, here's the thing. You listen to like 30 hours of commentary on double speed, you hear other people do these amazing finds.
So this new poll is, what do you think of Terry Matalas saying the villain is not Sayla? Is it A, I don't believe him? Is it B, it's someone else, someone totally different, we're completely off the scent? Or C, it's very close to Sayla, like Denise Crosby is playing the villain, but like a sister or an aunt.
For a second, I was like, it's Tasha Yar and Data's love child. But I was like, that obviously doesn't work. I don't know that he could get Tasha Yar pregnant.
Anyways, so John, you were saying you think it might be the Traveler Corey as a villain.
Sure.
Well, hadn't she been?
Maybe.
Well, they said only just because in an interview they said it's a new actress playing the villain, and then also I think they had announced she isn't on the show, right?
Right. I mean, no
know.
longer as a main cast member, but there's nothing stopping them from guest starring or coming in as whatever. But I mean, everything's kept under wraps. Everything is very, very tightly controlled.
What if it's?
But didn't they say that it? Didn't they say, Mohammed, that it's an actress that we've seen a bunch of times before? That's all over the place. They said, right?
I don't remember that specifically.
They said
remember
that,
that
but not. They said that not in Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So what if it's somebody
Never-
like Emily Hampshire playing an evil version of Lol, just to mix things up?
Well, there's only
She's
one person that
deadpan,
would.
she could do a Lol really well.
True.
Okay, I've never. John,
She's so
Melissa, have you
good.
seen Schitt's Creek?
Never saw
I have
it.
not.
Me neither. So we'll have to take your word for it,
Goodbye.
Mohammed and Anne Marie. I would lose my poop though if it was Lena Headey, because
Ah.
She's amazing.
she would kill everything. She would destroy us all with her.
As she did in
magnificence.
Westeros.
So mean. Not Lena Headey.
No, that's right. It was actually Daenerys.
The character.
Still, yeah.
I know. What was up with that? Daenerys Targaryen. Lost
And we're gonna
me at
have
the
to
end.
wait.
Sorry.
What, like, John, do you have any idea when Picard season 3 is going to happen? Maybe like in the spring or summer of next year, or
One
something
place
like that.
said early.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, there's been no actual date announcements for any of the new shows coming out for Picard or Strange New Worlds, or Discovery, which is only still starting production. But I mean, I would guess probably by January, February, we'll see Picard. It'll be the first thing that comes out.
You know what?
It's already in the can.
Chuck A
Right.
in
And
the
Terry Matalas directs episode 10, which is also going to be freaking awesome. The finale, the whole
That's big.
series finale. Mhm.
Chuck A says Jake Sisko cameo in Picard or Lower Decks or both, please. Here's an idea I just had when I read that. Okay, let's say 10 years from now, the Kurtzman era is gone. We've had 7 Star Trek series, a handful of movies. Picard is in the rearview mirror. So is Lower Decks. They're closing it out, and they're basically saying we're going to take a breather for a couple years, and then we'll see how it goes, right? And then the final episode of, let's say, Strange New Worlds, and then it ends, and then you see like the freeze frame or something, and it closes in a book that says Strange New Worlds, and it gets put next to in a bookshelf next to the Lower Decks book and the Discovery book and the project and all these books.
That's
And then the
lovely.
camera pans away and it's an older Jake Sisko
Oh,
who wrote
Oh.
all of the
Oh.
Star Trek books
that
with a
would be
picture of Benny
awesome.
Russell on his desk.
Yes.
Oh man,
Yes.
that's a beautiful
Well,
image.
and then
Well
a
done.
throwback to the Visitor as well.
Yeah.
Ah, that would be awesome.
Okay.
That'd be amazing.
This is a free idea, Star Trek. You don't have to pay me for it, just credit. Hey, Sirach.
You could make it under the fan film thing, right? Just make that little clip. Because the fan film guidelines, it's under 15 minutes. You could do that.
Definitely.
Or you could hire Ryan to write a story or two because he's a pretty great writer himself.
Thank
Little known
you.
fact.
Thanks. But their franchise is worth too much to spend to gamble on
Dude,
an unknown entity.
dude,
But thank you
Dude.
though.
dude
so-
is talented. Take note, Paramount.
So here's the next thing we should talk about. This is from our good friends at Screen Rant, written by, looks like the name is John, or I don't really. No, it's of course our good buddy John Orchiola here who wrote this. This is from Screen Rant. It reads, "Why Strange New Worlds Star Trek crossover is genius." And right below that says Strange New Worlds crossing over with Lower Decks was not only unexpected, but there are many reasons why it is a very intriguing Star Trek idea. John, could you tell us more about this? Because this is maybe the biggest news of the week.
It is the biggest news out of Comic-Con for Star Trek, I would say. The crossover was totally unexpected, although it was hinted at by Alex Kurtzman a few weeks ago when he was in the Ready Room with Will Wheaton, and he mentioned, Wheaton asked him about a crossover, and Kurtzman said yes, that there would be, but nobody thought it would be Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds crossing over. How they're going to do it, we don't know, but we do know is that it's going to be live action in terms of Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid coming aboard the Enterprise, playing their characters in live action. And then there's also going to be an animated segment to it, because on stage, Anson Mount hinted that Pike there's a hunky animated version of Pike on the show. So I think the Strange New World cast will be animated as well. And there is something that Mike McMahon showed me on his phone that I cannot say in relation to this, but my jaw dropped when he showed it to me. But it was I am super excited. Let me put it that way.
It's just between us.
Are they
Go
gonna
ahead.
wear?
Just between all of us.
Are they gonna wear the hair like in that picture?
Is Boimler gonna have purple hair?
I
Yes.
bet so. Yeah.
Hey, that was from
Yes.
Mission Chicago. That's where that picture was from.
Yeah, but that would be awesome in the live action that he'd actually have purple
Let
hair.
me tell you a story about this. Actually, it's actually really funny. Is when I interviewed the Strange New Worlds cast, which was about 2 hours before Hall H. I
And
asked
you
them
had private time with each one of them, right?
yes.
Wow.
Cool.
So it was pretty amazing. So I asked them a joke question, which you'll see when the interview is finally uploaded on Screen Rant. And my joke question was, since you're an animated show and you don't have a set that you work on, if you were able to go on the Picard or Strange New World set, what would you steal? Ooh. And they gave me very specific answers, and I thought, wow, you guys just really pay attention to the show, right? Like you guys really know the details of what you're seeing in the backgrounds. But it didn't occur to me till later when they announced the crossover in Hall H, and I was there in the 9th row, and I started piecing it together that they had been there, and that's how they knew. So that would be that was pretty amazing. And afterwards, I caught up with Mike McMahon at the Star Trek party in 10 Forward, and he asked me when I figured it out, and I told him I didn't know until Hall H. He thought I might have known during the interview, like I knew something, and I led him in, and I led the cast into that question, knowing that I knew that they were there, but I had no idea. So that was just a weird little confluence of events, but it worked out great.
Well, yeah.
So it sounds like if we know there's going to be an animated version of Pike, then maybe it's not going to be Boimler and Mariner that are going to be in live action, but maybe
No, it
Strange
is
New Worlds.
It is definitely going to be more Boimler and them in
So
live
they're
action.
both
They're
going
both
animated
crossing
and
over.
both going live action.
Right.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but I can
Man, that's enticing.
I can confirm that Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid will be on the show in live action as their character in Starfleet
That's
uniform.
so awesome.
I know,
Like
it's amazing.
Like a little Roger Rabbit-esque,
Yeah.
maybe.
No, actually, it's funny. Tawny Newsome said on her Instagram, they're not going to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Those were her exact words.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like the opposites attract.
Also, everybody's
music
exact
video.
words. Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I'm most looking forward to Boimler's purple hair too.
That comment you
Yeah.
said, John, too, about them going to the set. There was one comment that came up sort of related to this that I think it was Jack Quaid who made the comment that he'd never met. I can't remember his name, the actor who plays Rutherford. He'd never seen him in person. It's like,
Eugene
oh,
Cordero.
that's
Yeah.
painful. Yeah, but of
Yeah, they
course
don't
with
get
the
to record
pandemic,
together.
it makes sense. You know, it's animated. Okay, but it's funny. Two mains on the show have never even seen each other in person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's funny, even though they don't see each other often, when they were all together, they were basically the live action version of the show.
Oh,
When
yeah.
I interviewed them, I had questions and I had a format in mind that I was going to try to steer the interview, but they ran me over, like in a best way. I just let them go and I felt like I was I was on a roller coaster and I wasn't strapped in, and I was just being whisked along while they just did their thing, and it was amazing. So they really have rapport. They genuinely have rapport. They genuinely love each other, and they're incredibly fun together without a script.
That was clear at Mission Chicago too. They seemed like they were very tight in a good way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wow.
So going back to the article really quick, a couple of the points I wanted to make was that one of the cool things about Lower Decks crossing over Strange New World is that Strange New World has shown in season 1 that they can do any type of genre episode, including comedy. And this is just like the next level to it. And it's never been done before. There's never been, I don't think the animated series from the 70s ever crossed over into anything. So it's the first time ever an animated Star Trek series will cross over into live action. And it might also, if there are people who love Strange New Worlds and are aware about Lower Decks, it might entice them to check out Lower Decks.
That's a great point.
And my last big point in the article is the fact that Jack Quaid is a big star now. He wasn't quite as big a couple of years ago when he was hired for this role, but ever since then, The Boys, Scream, he's blown up. So this is a chance for him to actually be in live action in a Star Trek show and cash in on that.
Totally.
The closest to that, you were asking about the present, the closest to that is Lower Decks. Because remember, I'm sorry, not Lower Decks, Short Treks. Because Short Treks had that Ephraim and Dot thing, which had various scenes from other Star Trek series in animated form. So that's the closest to it, but yeah.
Right.
But that's similar to what happened with the 2009 Star Trek movie, where a lot of the actors were known, like from Shaun of the Dead or from, whatever
Simon
here
Pegg.
and there. But Simon Pegg, but they really kind of blew up more so afterwards, like Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana. They really blew up after that. So it's kind of similar to the Jack Quaid thing. But I did want to say, let's see. We have a few comments that I think would be funny. JR Poole says in the live chat, "I'm sorry, I think we should cut the show and work on the pitch."
Okay.
The Sirac Loft and the Jake Sisko pitch. Like, yeah, let's just cut this thing and get to work. Glenn Iverson says, "I love the idea of the Lower Decks DS9 crossover, but Strange New Worlds with Lower Decks seems really bizarre. You just wait." And David Gregory says, "Hunky Anson, is that even possible? Tell me more." And Chuck A said, I don't remember where it is, but he mentioned something about Pike's hair animated. Yeah, it's going to be, imagine his hair animated. It's going to look like he has a rooster on his head. Yeah, Johnny Bravo.
Like, it's crazy.
They might, I'm sure they'll do the visual joke of Boimler and Pike having a hair off.
Could be like the hair. What was the hair in Star Trek Beyond with that person who hid the thing in her hair when they were on the planet?
That's right.
Yeah. She seemed
The
kind of like
DS9 crossover is also like a really, really big deal for Lower Decks, for them going to DS9. I this morning, which won't go up till Wednesday, I wrote up, or it's today Wednesday, on Thursday, I wrote up a thing about who could be seen on Lower Decks from DS9, because Mike McMahon promised that not only will the Cerritos fly past the pylons, and fly past the wormhole, it will dock with DS9, disembark into the promenade, and they will go in there and meet some familiar faces, are his exact words.
Walk around, look at the Cardassian architecture.
Go to Quark's bar, probably.
I love that.
Right. Yeah, my guess is I've already kind of made public. I think it's going to be Quark,
yep,
Morn, and if there's a third person, hopefully Kira. You know, Kira would appear on the view screen and say you're cleared to dock, and then when they go and they go to the bar. But do you guys have any other guesses besides that?
Yes, I do have one. I have a big one. Sisko. Captain Sisko.
Really?
Because how else can you bring him back but in animated form where he will be?
How is he going to say yes to being on Lower Decks, though? I just
better than nothing.
Saying that.
He doesn't watch Lower Decks. They'll just say an animated show, and you'll say, "Sounds good."
I mean, look, I have no idea if any of his issues with Star Trek have ever been resolved. I have no idea if anybody ever reached out to him from Paramount Plus or Secret Hideout. I don't know the status of that. I'm just saying, if there's ever a possibility to bring back Captain Sisko in any form, this is it, because they're literally going to his house. And it's the best opportunity to see him the way we remember him, just animated, where he's the same age. And if they can't get Avery Brooks, he doesn't have to say anything. You could just literally just see Sisko.
Okay, that's true.
But
when they say familiar faces
in the wormhole.
Right, but there's a shot in the trailer of the Cerritos going into the wormhole.
Right. This is true.
You guys are making me too happy. This is my little nerd
I
heart
know.
can't hang with this.
I flipped out about this.
I could also see Garrick would be like,
That's a good one.
seems Lower Decksy.
Oh, totally. That's a good guess. But we do know. Well, when does Lower Decks? How much after Deep Space Nine does Lower Decks take place?
5 years. About 5 years.
Right. So Garrick was, if I remember correctly, he kind of went over to Cardassia, but of course that's in the books, so who knows?
Yeah.
But he was leaving for Cardassia at the end too.
Oh, I stand
help
corrected.
rebuild.
Okay.
No,
so
what happened, Emery?
Saying.
I mean, I actually wouldn't even be surprised if it's like Harry Kim or someone. Because, like, for example, that IDW 400 comic book edition with like a special cover, when you actually like look at every single person in it, there are almost no Deep Space Nine people in Quark's bar, but it's a lot of like Harry Kim hanging out with Morn, hanging out with like, you never know.
Voyager famously started in
like there is that Delta flyers flyby, and you never know.
But hang on one second here, because this brings up the very next topic, which is from Entertainment Weekly of all places.
Do they
cover Star Trek?
They had their own special.
They have been.
And then today they released all this new footage where they talked to each cast like 20 minutes.
Check this out. This is really interesting. It reads, Star Trek boss says 2 more spinoffs are in the works. No, that's not the one we want. Hang on a second. Hang on 1 second.
But Alex Kurtzman said that in Hall H.
Yes,
this is
go
the
to
one.
the Trek movie one of that.
Hang on, no, wait. This is Cinema Blend. This is the one we want. That was just a tease for later, everybody. Star Trek's Alex Kurtzman offers update on whether a Deep Space Nine revival could happen in the new era. Now, here's where it gets hairy, okay? Not Kim. Is this quote from him when he was asked about Deep Space Nine, because Voyager's getting some love, Next Generation, so on. He says, quote, I'm trying to answer your question without revealing anything. I think we're always having conversations about the history of Star Trek, and obviously Sisko is a critical figure for everybody. Conversations definitely have been had. So, guys, they didn't mention, the question was not about Sisko. The question was about Deep Space Nine. He brought up Sisko specifically. So that means there's something.
Conversations have been had.
Now that doesn't mean it's going to happen right now.
Well, besides from Archer, who gets tributed constantly, he's constantly being name dropped. Sisko is the only missing captain, really, who hasn't been given his due in new Star Trek.
Mhm.
And you know they want to.
Yeah,
And
and
they-
we
I
will
think
get
they
the
do. I
restaurant
think
at
they
least.
generally
We
do.
know that lower decks, the restaurant name will be there at least. So
Right.
something.
Yes, yeah.
That's true. That was cool. Okay, but then it continues. So his quote continues. What I'll tell you is that for us, we don't want to just launch into something without knowing, oh, we have now a new idea, a reason to do it, and a way to turn it in a new direction. So it's not just repeating the thing you've seen before. It's also honoring the thing that you love. So if we ever do go down that road, other than, actually, I didn't even put you guys can't even read along. That's not
Nope.
fair.
Well, you can because I shared it in
Okay.
the 7th Rule Facebook group.
So it says, it's also honoring the thing that you love. So if we ever do go down that road, other than what we're doing already on lower decks, I think we would all want to make sure that it was coming from that place of being able to tell the new story while honoring the old one. So in other words, that was like a really crazy, confusing sentence that just turned my brain into knots. But it sounds like he's saying that they want to make something work, but they need to make sure it can work before they do it. And when he says we don't want to just launch into something, knowing we have an idea, it sounds like it's going to be a new thing because he's calling it an idea. He's saying launching. Maybe it's going to be, maybe Sisko and Bashir or something like that's going to be part of Section 31 thing that we keep hearing about. Maybe it's going to be its own new series that we haven't heard about. I mean, what do you guys think? It's very cryptic.
It
imagine
feels
when I see it.
very non-committal to me.
But he definitely
have been
wants us.
had.
He definitely wants us
Yeah.
to have
It's-
that nugget in our
But
brain
when
to
you
tease us.
actually
Yeah,
watch
but-
the San Diego Comic-Con panel, it's kind of like just said to not offend Deep Space Nine fans because
Right.
and also that's sort of like
Oh.
I mean,
Right.
that is how they started the Voyager and the Picard like talks by saying stuff like that about Janeway and Picard. But like when you actually watched the panel, at least on streaming, I watched it twice, and both times I was like, this just sounds like they're trying to just like say they aren't overlooking one of the series. I mean, I actually thought but I do love Mick and I love the article. I have to say, and I love that he did an article for it.
So it sounds more like they want to bring Sisko. They want to do something with Deep Space Nine, but they're not sure
Yeah, I
it's
don't
going
think that
to
is
happen.
necessarily.
I didn't get
And they-
that from that quote at all.
Really?
I got conversations had been had so that Deep Space Nine fans would be appeased that they're talking about Deep Space Nine. But to me, it doesn't seem like there's really anything in the works as far as Deep Space Nine goes.
Oh, I
Totally
would think
agree.
they're definitely
I totally
trying.
agree.
And
I don't think they would
especially-
ignore Deep Space Nine. I mean,
No, well, they have for decades, but
it's not more than
but-
Enterprise.
But especially with Mike McMahon's comment when he said one last walk on the
Yes.
promenade makes it seem like this is our last look at Deep Space Nine. And I'm just like,
Yeah, he
It's
worded it so weird when he said
Yeah.
that, like one visit. I'm like,
I know. Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree with you. It
Yeah.
sounded like they just don't want people to think they're not thinking of Sisko, but I have a
Right.
hard time believing.
I have a very hard time believing that they would deliberately omit any inclusion of Deep Space Nine and or Enterprise for that matter in their series where clearly everybody wants to see more Star Trek
Well,
stuff.
also, if they do it for every single old series, then it becomes like a trope of like, oh, we brought this instead of like they clearly also want to have their own stuff going on. So
What do you think, Mohammed? Do you think that they're just saying, nope, we're not, we hate Deep Space Nine, we hate Deep Space Nine fans, we want nothing to do with it?
I mean,
Hate
to be
is a
fair, there
strong
have
word.
been, there have been references to Deep Space Nine. I mean, you remember the model Deep Space Nine with the
With
Jadzia
Ezri and
Ezri?
Jadzia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there have been some references there. So, I mean, I agree that relative to say Next Generation, which like, yeah,
Or
I mean,
Voyager.
relative to Next
And
Generation,
Voyager.
they've had
And
way,
Voyager.
way less. Same with Voyager, yeah. So, but maybe this coming season is going to be a point where they try to balance it out? Because I mean, we've seen again that like they're coming to Deep Space Nine. We didn't see anything about Voyager in the preview, but we saw a very
No, we
clear
did
reference to
though.
it.
We saw the Delta Flyer.
Right.
Oh, that's
right.
true.
And then
Yeah, sorry,
also
yeah.
at some point in one of these interviews, they also said Deep Space Nine episode, like it's an episode max of like 20 whatever minutes.
Yeah, well, that's being on site at Deep Space Nine, but like it's not like they've
Right.
had any on site on USS Voyager, right? So I mean,
Yeah, but they did have Tom Paris.
yeah, but I mean, again, that
on the
doesn't rule out
show.
they'll have somebody else. I mean,
Yeah, we don't know who's going to be seen on Deep Space Nine. We don't know who's going to reprise their characters. It's all top secret. There'll be somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible
John,
that we'll see
I was-
like Bashir come back for a whole
And
episode
obviously
too, just
we're
like
seeing
Tom Paris did,
Martok.
maybe, and that wouldn't necessarily be
Right.
part of the same episode.
Right.
Oh yeah, Martok.
Yeah, we
good
have
point.
seen Martok too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
John,
yeah.
I was thinking you're being mysteriously quiet through all this, like you know something and you can't say it.
I can't.
That's how quiet
I
I
can't say
get.
what I
That's how
don't
quiet
know.
Muhammad gets when a topic comes up and we're like, either we know something or we think that our guess is going to be so close that we don't want to say anything in case it's right, and then people think, how did they know that? I get paranoid about my guesses.
All I can say
Okay.
there is no that I know of from the people I've spoken to in terms of Deep Space Nine. And I talk about Deep Space Nine a lot. It's my favorite Star Trek. So whenever I bring it up, I've never encountered any type of pushback or animosity or dislike even for that show or those characters. I think it's a challenging show to try to integrate into what's already been built from new
Logistics.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
I think it's its own world that's very, very closed and also kind of hard to get into because of just the way it was designed to be. And it's also a story that was beautifully finished. So like, what can you do? But what can you do with some of those characters? And also the captain is missing. The captain became a god and transcended, which is a problem for, it was a beautiful ending, but it's a problem in terms of continuing that story.
Mhm.
So, I think it's a hard nut to crack. And I think
Yeah.
I think there are attempts to try to crack it, but that's all I can say. I don't know.
There was one reference, I can't remember where it was from, but there was one reference to the Dominion War that came up in one of the panels. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, it's Worf, right?
Oh, that's right. It was about
Yeah.
Worf with respect to Picard, that somehow had been shaped by the Dominion War. Yeah.
Well, the other
Yeah.
interesting thing, it was either like the end of the article you just pulled up or another article that was covering the same thing that said, like in an interview recently, actually, Nanad even said, like, if there was to be another, like some sort of Deep Space Nine thing, she would want Ira involved. So
Mhm.
like, there are a lot of,
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that make this, I mean, obviously everybody working there loves Deep Space Nine. It's like a fact. Dawn Lewis said she channeled Cisco when she was auditioning for her role as Captain Freeman, like Cisco and Picard, and even without knowing it was a Star Trek show. So, I mean, I don't think anybody doesn't like it. It's just, I can see it being harder, and I can also see it becoming, like, they don't want to fall into the category of, like, tropey by, like,
Mhm.
they already brought back Seven and Janeway.
Yeah, 'cause
And
they'd
but
be
I'm
like,
actually glad. I'm glad you brought up Ira Bear because of all the Star Trek shows outside of Gene Roddenberry in the original series, there's no Star Trek show that's more synonymous with one creative mind than Ira Bear. So how do you do Deep Space Nine without him? He was that show. Yes, Ron Moore and Robert Hewitt Wolf and Renee Archivara, and they were all such. He put together an amazing team. But that was Ira Bear's vision that Rick Berman left him alone to do, thankfully. And so yeah, how do you do Deep Space Nine without him? Like it would actually kind of suck without him. So.
But I would
Well,
love to see, like, the
wouldn't-
characters come into other people, like other shows, the way that,
Absolutely.
like, Seven was in Picard.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
they all clearly know each other. I mean,
Same.
like, I'm not saying small universe syndrome, but they all, like, work in
Look at
the
Wiki.
Federation. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and I have to say one other thing, speaking of Ron Moore, the only thing I'll say about For All Mankind is that at their panel, they're having a fourth season. They got renewed, which I'm super.
Yes, they are getting a
super
fourth season.
That was
excited
awesome.
for.
Great news.
Can I tell you
Great,
guys?
great
Can I tell you guys? I interviewed the entire cast of For All Mankind in 2 sets, and they are spectacular. I'm actually very excited. I can't wait to have those interviews published because those were incredible interviews.
See,
They
Ryan,
were
it's
a lot of
amazing.
fun. What's up?
I was like, see Ryan, because he hasn't watched it yet. I'm like, I'm always talking about it. It's
Ryan's seen the
good.
first.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Well
true.
done. I can't wait.
Sorry, I'm just putting up a new poll. And the poll says what do you think about Deep Space Nine in new Star Trek? And the answers are no way, new Star Trek hates it. Or it's coming for sure, or it'll pop up in bits and pieces, or, well, it'll get more love than Enterprise for sure. Yeah, but that is an interesting thing about not getting too tropey, because then they're like, look, original series gets a little bit of love from obviously from Strange New Worlds. Voyager's getting their love from Prodigy. Next Generation's getting their love from Picard, right? So you feel like the next one in line is Deep Space Nine, but then they're gonna be like, but then we got to do an Enterprise one, and they're like, but we don't even acknowledge that Enterprise exists. They pretend they're like, that never happened.
My only thing with that is that all of these characters exist within the same universe. So why not pull from all of the shows that have these characters that exist in the same universe? They don't have to be on Deep Space Nine or in Voyager or anything like that. I mean, bringing Seven into Picard was kind of fun because it was a crossover of the franchise. So, I don't see a problem.
Right. What I'm saying is that these new series tend to have a particular favorite. Like Prodigy tends to be more, they're doing the more nods to Voyager. Clearly they're doing more nods to Voyager. Picard is clearly doing more nods to Next Generation, right? And what's the other one? And
TOS Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds is clearly doing the most nods and borrowed characters from the original series. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you could have Quark pop up in Lower Decks, and you can have Odo show up in Strange New Worlds as a ball of
Odo
goo.
did show up in Prodigy.
Right, that's true.
Oh, good point.
That is true.
That was the best episode ever.
Yeah, little by little, it's happening. I mean, I'm as impatient as everybody to see Deep Space Nine, but little by little, it is happening.
We got Martok. We got
Yeah,
Odo.
Wasn't there a scene in one of the early seasons of Lower Decks when they were even like a flashback on Deep Space Nine too?
Yes,
Yes,
Mariner was
Mariner.
printed on Deep Space Nine.
I know us Star Trek fans are just never happy. We're just like, nope, not enough.
Well,
Not
so
enough.
Aaron
Get
Wolfe
Again, it's
said-
relative on a relative
Aaron Wolfe
scale.
even said like there will be more legacy characters in Prodigy, even, which I didn't really see coming because they already have had some. So like like little by little they can like start working their Deep Space Nine characters can start working their way into that show, hopefully too.
I'm
They
still
even had that
mad
random
that there
comment
aren't.
about Trip Tucker sprinkles.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just mad that there aren't Enterprise characters in Strange New Worlds yet.
I
Like I
wish we
thought
could
for
see
sure
that.
that was going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Fingers
yeah.
crossed.
So I think that maybe just one of the new series that has not come out yet, they're kind of having that pegged as this is the series that's going to have like a, like this Section 31 might have Bashir. You know what I mean? And so there's a huge tie-in there,
I
or
would love that, but
Or Trip Tucker.
oh yes,
I love that headcanon. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Trip Tucker was beamed out just in the nick of time.
Yes, I'm with you, Melissa. 100%.
Yep.
1000%.
Yep. John is mysteriously quiet again there. Every time he gets quiet, I get suspicious. I'm like, what do you know, John? What do you know?
We'll talk privately.
Oh.
All right. Let me end this stream real quick. I'm not going to wait a half hour. All right. Well, let's move on to the next topic because there's so many. And man, I just want Captain Sisko and Jake Sisko in new Star Trek, and I'll be happy.
Just Jake even.
Okay. So this, yeah, because honestly, because Avery is very, very retired, right?
Mhm.
But he's
But
very
if you're too
retired. He doesn't go to-
retired, go into a closet and just say 3 lines into a microphone.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
It's
the
always
other
that
captains
but.
have their own shows. I don't think he'll say yes to that.
But Sirach Lofton is not very retired, and
He is very
Yeah,
he
unretired. Yep.
should get a call
Yeah.
to
So
be.
wait, are we confirming right now he
represent the
hasn't? I've got
Siskos.
my news cap on. I've got my
I
reporter
don't
thing on.
know.
I mean,
Is that
he's,
what we're
he's,
confirming?
he's under NDA if he
Doc
has.
is such
He
a
won't tell us,
consummate
of course.
professional. You can
Yeah.
never
Is
even
your
tell.
question, John, is your question that we confirm that Sirach has not gotten a call from Star Trek yet?
Yeah, from Secret
I-
Hideout.
I'm happy to be the voice of the crew and say we cannot confirm that. I don't even have the slightest clue, and I would never even ask Sirach. Like because I'm just rooting for it. I'm like, I want to find out when everybody else finds out. I don't want him to feel like he knows when he has acting gigs or I have producing gigs. We just say, hey, I got an acting gig. And we don't ask, we don't tell, we just reschedule around our podcast around it, you know, and then one day maybe he'll be like, hey, remember back in March when I needed a couple weeks off? Watch the trailer. Check out this trailer coming up. But I have no idea.
We are very team Sirach here.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
Another person who keeps banging the drum is Tracy Coco, Lieutenant J. That's definitely somebody that could very well come back in Lower Decks, right?
I mean, or Prodigy, to be fair, but oh my gosh, Lower Decks would just
especially Lower Decks, yeah.
Oh, what a great Easter egg that would be.
Totally.
You know? Great Easter egg.
So I think that might happen.
Picard, to be fair, but yeah, that already finished.
Okay, so back to Entertainment Weekly, the thing that we teased earlier, everybody. Star Trek boss, I guess that's Mike McMahon.
No,
Star Trek.
It was Alex Kurtzman who said it.
Okay, because it's got a picture of Mike McMahon there, so I'm like,
and
who's
also,
the boss?
So it's this article
Angela?
is Mike McMahon saying what he heard in Hall H, because it was actually at their. This is like where they went after Hall H to get interviewed, but it's actually a fan question about women in.
Okay,
this
so
is
it
an article
reads,
covering what actually happened at Hall H.
Star Trek boss says 2 more spin-offs are in the works. Expect to see more shows with female leads. Okay, so
really fast,
don't we already know those
version
2
is
shows?
Trek movie, yeah.
We already know Section 31. We already know Starfleet Academy, right? So if those were the 2 new ones, if those were the 2 new ones, we don't know if those are shelved right now or if they're staying on top of those. But then it could be Michelle Yeoh could be the lead of Section 31, and Tilly could be the lead of Starfleet Academy.
Maybe
that's where she went. It could be taking place in the 32nd century or whatever. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's what it is.
I think it's a pretty good guess.
That's probably good guesses.
Yeah.
Damn, I was hoping there was new information I didn't know.
Wow, those are the most logical ones. We can come up with crazy ones, but those are the logical ones.
They've been talking about those shows for a while, so maybe the fact that they haven't come up yet, maybe they've been shelved, and maybe they're talking about new things. I
wouldn't be surprised if it would come now that Picard is basically done. I mean,
I've heard some comments like that. Like they like to have the new thing is going to be like having about 5 shows in development at a time, and then the extra products like audiobooks or whatever. Yeah, and so the next one that from like some comments people have made in passing or like over the past few months, it sounds like Section 31 would be the next one back up. But who knows? Because obviously we've been hearing about Section 31 for years. I don't know if John picked up any more like word on the street at the parties once people started drinking the Romulan ale.
Nothing about Section 31.
I almost wore my Romulan ale shirt today. I got it right here.
I think they are waiting for Picard to bow out just to have that slot open, and then something will be announced for the next show. I mean, with 5 shows on the air, that's already quite a lot. So I think they're just waiting for one of them to go away, and there is going to be one that's about to end soon. So after that, it'll be open season for whatever the next series will be.
Yeah, maybe they're gunning for. They just kind of figured 5 is a good number because if they have 10 episodes per season and you have 5 shows, that's basically year round.
The entire year, yeah.
It did sound like, didn't they say that Discovery is going to be 10 this season too? Which it has been longer, but I think that they said earlier that this season's going to be 10.
The original contract with Netflix that made it 16 or 15 episodes, whatever it was, is over. So now they're exclusively Paramount Plus, which is a 10 episode order, which falls in line with every other show on Paramount Plus.
Oh, interesting. So it's not going to be, they're not going to be working their actors harder than all the other shows. All the other actors they see the other actors on the other shows. They're like, how come they only have 10 episodes and we're here for a year and 3 months?
Okay, well, I'll hear. let me drop this one for you. After I spoke to them in the interview, we were chatting in the hallway, and I was talking to Christina Chong and Celia Gooding, and we were talking about how I asked them that now that they're on hiatus, how long their hiatus would be, and they said we're expecting maybe about six months. So, and there's still no word that they're going to get a season 3. It hasn't been announced yet, and so the actors that were not sure if they were going to get a season 3. Although let's be serious, come on, the show is fantastic. There's no way they're not going to get it. Yeah, right. That's what I told them. Like,
It'll be
like,
shocking.
And then I forgot who was talking with us, but somebody said, the magic number is 7 because Next Generation was 7, Voyager was 7, DS9 was 7, and Christina Chong was shocked at the thought of 7 years.
Although 7 used to have to do with like how much people's pay would go up every year versus like the ad space. So because it's not on network television anymore, like I don't think they have to really abide by that. So Strange New Worlds, some of that is like, when does TOS start? But Anson Mount actually made a really cool comment at one of the other panels that he like sort of crashed for that video game panel, where he was saying that he would love it if Strange New Worlds actually ended up like what do you call it? Going at the same time as TOS.
Oh, concurrent.
Yeah, but I actually don't. I need to think about this more because, well, then wouldn't he not be on the Enterprise?
Well, let's add a bit more. Let's add a bit more to this and say that just because Strange New Worlds takes place 6 years before the original series starts doesn't mean that equals 6 seasons.
Yeah,
they could write an entire season that that's just a week worth of time, or they could have a season that skips forward 2 years. So I mean, they can make as many as they want. I'm going to predict Discovery goes 7 seasons. I think that's just kind of like,
I think it's happening.
They want to match the others. They want to give it that legitimacy. But I think Strange New Worlds might go 8. Not because that's the plan. I bet their plan is just to do like 4 or 5, but just because the fans are going to keep going, you better give us freaking more. We're going to be rabid monsters. They're going to hate us by the end of this. If they don't already.
One interesting dynamic too is the length.
I have no idea how far ahead Strange New Worlds is planning, but I mean, I have to believe that season 3 is already in the works, just because how could it not be?
One interesting thing in terms of
No, I mean like season 2 of Strange New Worlds is not going to bomb mysteriously, it's not going to. So that's but they have not gotten a renewal yet. But I guess when do renewals happen? Like February, like that's when they announced it this year. So I think everybody's just kind of waiting.
Star Trek Day, September 8th.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what's going on with episode lengths too, just because we see so many shows now going like looking at Orville, for example, and then even more extreme, we're looking at Stranger Things, obviously outside this universe. But it'll be interesting to see if they start going longer and longer and longer still in terms of episode lengths, where like, okay, now we're gonna have an hour and 20-minute episode of Discovery or something like that. I mean, it's again, like you guys have said, they're on their own network. And the old rules don't apply anymore. They could.
That's true. And everybody at home right now is like, yeah, right. John Orchiola didn't interview Strange New Worlds people, and yeah, right. He doesn't know Chrissy Chong that
I don't know Chrissy
well.
Chong.
Well, let me
I don't know her
show
that well.
you.
Here's my question:
Exhibit
Is
A.
Chrissy Chong gonna start dating Paul Wesley? They seem really close in all the pictures.
John Orchiola here tweets out, "Don't tell anyone, but Chrissy Chong is my fave." Oh, go ahead and tell everybody.
Yay!
She retweets that and says, "Don't tell anyone, but back of the head, that's you. But you're my favorite." And she spells it the British way. We'll forgive that.
Well, she is British.
Yeah.
That was so cute.
But look at that.
That's awesome.
So lucky.
I mean, that's a pretty good shout out there, John. That's some pretty good street cred.
Awesome.
She's super cool. And my whole point of bringing up like that she was shocked that about 7 years is because I think it's because she's British, and traditionally British shows don't last 7 years. Like outside of Downton Abbey, they usually wrap like 2 or 3. So I think
depending on the show,
right? But I think just in general, they're not used to the idea of
Strange
changing
New
your
Worlds
life.
be the new EastEnders?
Right. Well, because some of these shows last 20 plus years, but they just rotate the casts out every 2 or 3 years.
Like
Probably like
Reggae John
Sherlock,
Page,
where they last
Reggae
20
John-
years, but only have 3 seasons.
Yeah, but then like the Reggae John Page left Bridgerton because he didn't want to do more than 1 year. You know, a lot of times they just don't want to commit to a lifetime on television on one show. It's more of the it's a more British thing than an American thing. And in America, you get a show, you write it till it's dead, because I mean, that's how you make the money.
It also demands the cast lives in Toronto for like X amount of time every single year, which really must be hard on your like actual life. But.
That's true.
Okay, so a little bit more on that. Anne-Marie, you mentioned the Trek movie article on that subject, so we'll pull that up real quick. That is right here.
I think I mostly summarized it.
Yeah, basically covers it. It says Alex Kurtzman reconfirms 2 new Star Trek series, but it's got the quote here. He says, "It's a terrific idea, and it's definitely something that we'll take into the next," pauses for dramatic effect, "2 Star Trek shows that we are currently developing." So that's how he delivered it. And then it reads, "The next hint about what might be coming came in response to another fan who mentions how impressed she was with the, quote, robust female characters in the last several shows," end quote, and asked if there could be a spinoff with a female captain, possibly led by Jerry Ryan or Gates McFadden. Kurtzman responded, quote, "First of all, I'd say anything's possible. And I'll say, without revealing too much, you can certainly expect to see more Star Trek shows with female leads." Okay, wait, so that's a little different than what that other article said. He didn't say that these 2 that are in development have female leads. He said they're working on 2 new shows and there also will be female leads. So that's a little bit more nebulous.
Always.
I'm sure there's more than one show. I'm sure there are several show ideas in development. I'm sure some of them have female leads or in the concepts for them, in various stages of writing or development. So, but yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, Star Trek is one of the pioneers in terms of being inclusive and
60% of our shows right now have female captains.
Right.
I mean, so it is over half.
It's only going to continue.
And they know that Strange New Worlds is continuing, which has a male lead, so that's going to be a little bit more of a push to like, okay, if that's one that's continuing, let's get a female.
Yeah, but Picard is I guess, but I'd say Captain Friedman, Admiral Janeway, and Captain what's her name? Burnham. Yeah.
Oh, would you call Friedman the lead? I would think Mariner.
No, she's not Freeman.
No, but she's at the panel and they do think everybody does think of her as the captain of the show. Okay. And then you'd say Mariner is.
But it was Mariner's face on the giant banner at Comic-Con with the captains, which Mike McMahon was so happy about.
So cute.
Right. Well, it's like when Michael Burnham was, she was on the posters with the other captains before she was captain. Right. So sometimes they go by the captains and other times they go by the leads. And nowadays, before there was no gray area there, the captains were the leads. And now they're like, well, sometimes the captain's the lead, sometimes somebody else is,
Yeah, I only mention it because it seemed like at this panel, they were really pushing the emphasis on Captain Freeman being a captain. Which,
nice. It's a different world,
You never know. Because it kind of changes by the day, which they focus on.
Because good knowledge. Don Lewis was in a different world. So
yeah, exactly.
When I hear her voice, I think of that. It makes me happy. And Melissa in the live chat mentioned she used to watch EastEnders when she was living in the UK.
Yeah, with Dot and Pat and Sharon, and I can't remember the other characters, but yeah.
Hey, what about Coronation Street?
Yeah, I didn't watch Coronation Street. It was on the air, but I did watch Postman Pat and Thomas the Tank Engine, which was actually called Thomas the Tank Engine.
These sound like terrible shows.
The 2, the 4, the 6, the 8, Big Trucks and hauling freight.
That was not the song.
Wasn't the song there?
No.
The one here.
I don't remember what the Thomas the Tank Engine one was, but I do remember the Postman Pat.
Ryan.
Strange.
I muted myself for a second so you guys wouldn't hear me cracking open that beverage that sounded so delicious when I did it.
Saving that for the Friday show.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
here's our next thing that we got going on. We'll change the channel a bit here. And this is from our good pals over at trekmovie.com. It reads, Chris Pine still waiting to find out
You
what's
can't make
up
this up.
with Star Trek 4. Salary reported at 13 million.
Oh
Wait.
my god.
Okay, just to
What?
to remind everybody, previously on the main viewer last week, we had this article, this nebulous article from StarTrek.com that said the release date for the next Star Trek movie will be next June 2023. Following that up, Trek Movie like hunted him, Chris Pine, down at Comic-Con, which wasn't hard. He was front and center for other stuff. But they went up to him to ask a comment about this weird release date. And then that was his response, which is always his response when they like give out news about the movie. It makes no sense. Unless the movie obviously is something else.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know what's going on with the Star Trek movie, but it's so weird, but I'm like so excited for it. Like, I didn't realize I liked these movies so much until we haven't had one in a while. Now I'm kind of banging the drum for it. I want to see this crew back together. I want to see, the Pine Nuts go nuts. I want to see the Spock attackers attack Spock. I want to have some fun with this. Well, more Spock. I don't need more Spock, but so it reads very quickly. It's been 5 months since Paramount dramatically announced they were moving forward with a 4th film set in the Kelvin universe, which turned out to be a bit of a surprise to the cast. Whoops. Over these last few months, the cast has continually spoken about how they are excited about getting back together, but some have expressed skepticism about being able to get it done in time for the December 2023 date scheduled by Paramount. The latest update arriving during Comic-Con from star Chris Pine. So the question was, Chris Pine was at Comic-Con to promote a different 2023 movie for Paramount Pictures, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh my God, you guys, we've got to see Dungeons and Dragons. That looks so fun. Anyway, I guess I'm the only one that says that. No, Muhammad's with me on this one.
I'm with
you
you
like
on
the
that.
cartoon.
That cool.
Yeah.
I love the cartoon. Oh my gosh.
It continues while he, okay, Melissa.
Sorry, I was typing.
Dungeons and Dragons is a really cool thing that nerds like to do. Okay.
Yeah,
and it was also a really cool Saturday morning cartoon back in the day. And now out of nowhere, there's this like a bunch of thieves in Dungeons and Dragons movie, and it looks super fun and funny. It's kind of like, looks like they're not taking themselves too seriously, but it looks fun, right, Muhammad? Did you see the trailer?
It looks very fun.
Anne-Marie looks like she hates that crap. She's like, can we just talk about Chris Pine?
No, because I used to know Gary Gygax's daughter. She had a really amazing Chinese restaurant where I'm from in Wisconsin that she ran with her husband, like across from my junior high. So I'd always go there to get like the best wonton soup I've ever had. But the crazy thing was that her dad invented D&D.
Oh, that is cool.
Wow, that's huge.
You mean amongst his friends?
No, her dad was Gary Gygax, who like invented D&D. So every time I hear D&D news, I'm like so excited for them.
Wow.
I mean, those were clearly fallow years of D&D in the 90s.
John Orchiola, what do you think about D&D?
I like D&D. I played it when I was in high school, but I'm not a super fan of the franchise. I don't know much about it, but
yeah,
I was there when in the media room for Screen Rant when our host Ash Crossan interviewed the cast of the Dungeons and Dragons movie. So I can say I met Chris Pine very briefly. I ended up meeting both Kirks this weekend. Now that I think about it, which is crazy.
I was gonna say that's like a slightly weird to have two different people playing Kirk at the same time. I don't know. So like
with a third Kirk at
it messes
Comic-Con.
with my head. Yeah.
Can I just give someone a shout out that we haven't seen in a while? Ms. Katie Carr is in the live chat.
Hey, shout out to Katie Carr. Thanks for joining in the fun. Jesse Taggart says Ryan mansplaining D&D. I can barely even explain it to myself. Look, this is the song I wrote about D&D. I don't know much, but I know I love you. No, okay. Remember that song?
I mean,
What's it?
I got it mansplained to me by Sheldon on Big Bang Theory, which is how I know about it.
See, I never watched that show.
so good.
Rose Kirby in the live chat says, I am with you for Dungeons and Dragons. I've seen a clip of it. Great. Okay.
Cool.
Anyway, back to what Chris Pine was saying.
Yeah, you might have to start over. I'm just kidding.
Chris Pine was at Comic-Con to promote a different movie for Paramount Pictures, D&D Honor Among Thieves. While he was in San Diego, Deadline had a chance to ask Pine about the Star Trek movie, and the actor repeated what he and others have been saying. Quote, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it other than the news.
I just want to know, like, does he have
What does that
alert
even
set
mean?
for Star Trek? So that's
Yeah.
is that how he knows?
Yeah, it's called an agent. When asked if he was interested in returning to play Captain Kirk, Pine was also as positive. Quote, yeah, of course I am. If it happens, I think all of us would come back. Okay, so that's pretty. Oh, he's Shaggy now.
Oh.
Wait, Hugh Grant's in the movie?
What? That would be different.
Spoilers. No.
No, I mean that's in the Dungeons and Dragons. He's in the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Is he?
Now I want to see it.
Do you know how
Cool.
French people pronounce Hugh Grant? It's hilarious. They call him Hugh Grant. The name Hugh in French is just U. It's just a sound, like a monkey. And then Grand. They just hate consonants.
I was auditioning for something when I was wee little, and there was the name Hugh in it, and I almost pronounced it the French way because I hadn't heard the name Hugh or read the name Hugh before, and I went, huh.
Hug.
Huh. Huh.
Love that.
I still got cast in it, but
Oh, see, they like the way I hope it was a comedy.
it was a musical.
Mona in the live chat says, Ryan, you made me look at the TV funny when you said you never watched Big Bang Theory. Am I the only one? Like, I know we're supposed to watch
I've never seen it. I've never seen
okay.
it.
I've
See?
watched it.
Gosh, that's how I even know what San Diego Comic-Con is.
There's a lot of Star Trek references in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, which is
There's
cool.
weird crossovers with all sorts. Like actually, I just watched the new Doctor Strange movie, and both Patrick Stewart and Anson Mount are in it.
Mhm.
Oh. Wow.
Ryan's face.
All right.
Yeah.
Ryan, you know what has a lot of Star Trek references?
Ugh.
For All Mankind.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
it was coming.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. In your face. It's so good.
Wow, what's going on?
Am I the only person that doesn't watch it? You guys all watch it?
I've never watched
Okay,
it.
see, Melissa, we're on a team still.
Yeah, but that's because I don't have Apple TV.
Oh, yeah, that's me. That's why me too.
It's one of the least expensive ones. in
It's
that
so
sense,
nice. It's $4.99, and like
But
I
yeah,
just get it
still,
for
it is
this.
extra money still.
It actually comes free when you get a new computer, a new Apple.
Yeah, that's
Mac.
true.
But yeah.
It's like 3 months free or 6 months free or something.
It's like a year.
The quality of
Maybe a
programs on
year.
Apple TV Plus, not to shill for them, but it's like HBO level. Like
Yeah.
their
High
shows
quality.
are their shows are fantastic.
It's like $4.99 a month if you buy it, which I mean, I'm actually just watching to watch For All Mankind. I'm going to cancel, so it's going to be like a $10 investment
Yeah.
to see like all the show.
Okay, so Donnie Pearson says, I've heard that Aaron Neville and Linda Ronstadt tune. Aaron Neville, we were talking about him last week.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the agenda here, I think we kind of covered this already, right? Anne Marie, I think you kind of threw a little bit of information that this is about Anson Mount talks Pike's
Yes.
future, hopes Star Trek Strange New Worlds will overlap with TOS. Maybe that was the word you're looking
Yeah,
for.
I'd say that overlap was the word.
His quote is, it's just amazing to be able to do a job where every day you say to yourself, I can't believe I get to do this. And getting to meet this amazing family that is the Star Trek fan base is the highlight of it. See, Anson
He's
loves
so
you guys.
lovely. I just love when the actors like pop into panels they aren't expected to be at. I just feel like that shows such a like joie de vivre of being involved with the fandom. And I have to say also, I was watching Larry Nemechek's live stream, and I know I saw some people in the live chat there earlier. But he made a really great point that like if you looked on the app and did like hashtag Star Trek, like 50 or 60 panels came up with that hashtag for like people who are involved in Trek now, or Chase Masterson, or like Costume, Aaron Wolke, Neville Page, like all of these people. And it kind of like, in addition to helping the fandom and like people learn about the shows, it also sort of helps like your street cred level and your prestige when you're on panels with like people from these huge franchises. And it sort of like probably will want more, like get more creatives to want to work on the franchise, like as you have this like the highest team, like the highly esteemed show, as it becomes more highly esteemed, and not just a like, you know, I mean, because this is it's a huge jump for Star Trek at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
We got a mom alert. Mom alert in the live chat. Everybody, how cute is this? Anne Marie's mom's name is Marianne. So Marianne Siegel in the live chat says, I only started watching BBT several seasons in because of Anne Marie. Great show. Anne Marie is my TV Sherpa.
Wait, but BBT? I also saw Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
But then I also saw Fran Iverson, another mom of somebody in the live chat. So it's mom night.
Big mom night. Oh, yes, it's Mother's Night. Okay, so the rest of his quote, I was just peeking ahead, is a really nice one. I want to make sure we catch that. Love Anson Mount. Okay. He says, the question was, when asked what it was that interested him about Pike originally and going forward, the actor says, quote, this is a very broad way of putting it, but if Kirk represented machismo and Picard represented intellect, I want Pike to represent the heart. And I really think that decision in the second season of Discovery to make Pike aware of his future was a very smart one, because it took what is a tragic ending and turned it into an active choice. And the repercussions and the fallout from that choice really helped put more pins into who this guy really was.
He took that like quote, like mantra about Gene Roddenberry and how he made Kirk and Picard like after him and how they reflected the politics of the time, and he really like made it his own in a really beautiful way. I love that.
And he used the word machismo.
Yes.
It's a great word.
It's appropriate.
That's true.
Well,
I was wondering, Melissa, why you were mentioning that, but because it's a good word.
Yeah, you don't hear it often, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I have to say, there was one other really sort of like along those lines, another very heartwarming old or current captain thing from the weekend was when Patrick Stewart was in Hall H, and towards the end of the Picard panel, he just took a second to thank Comic-Con and thank all of the fans, because who knows if he'll ever be back in a Hall H again. And so he was just like, thank you for like how good you've been to me throughout my career and for all your support. And I was just like, what a class act, gentlemen. That's so how you get knighted. Like, yeah. So beautiful.
Wow.
And I feel like because so much was happening, I was like, even that alone would have been a story about how lovely he is. And like, it was a really special moment.
John, did you get a chance to see Patrick Stewart, Sir Patty Stew at Comic-Con?
No. I wish I could have, but no. Gates and Patrick Stewart were kind of in their own world during Comic-Con, and probably just to protect them, from COVID and everything else.
And nerds.
COVID nerds.
COVID nerds.
Nerd cooties.
COVID nerds are the worst kind of nerds. They love COVID.
You think of the candy, nerds.
Oh, those were great. Remember when nerds had like two flavors in one?
Like
one
side.
The little slide, the cider slide. That's
yes.
We got to get nerds for next week.
And Robert Kaiser says he doesn't agree with the characterization of Kirk. I mean, like usually when that like description is used, it's like bravado or like Horatio Hornblower, more like just going into things.
No, Kirk is really intelligent and he's very moral.
He has a lot of heart.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to boil down Kirk to bullet points, which is like what they did in Star Trek 2009, yeah, he's the swinging horny cool captain, who takes risks and and beds
Gets
the
into fist
beds
fights
the
where his
ladies.
shirt gets ripped.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
exactly.
during my
Robert
TOS
Kaiser.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Robert Kaiser I think I understand. Yeah, what he's trying to say here is like, yeah, like John, what you're saying is Kirk wasn't just that. He had a lot of heart.
Right.
He had a lot of intelligence. He was great in a lot of ways. But I think what they mean is a little bit more like, what's a word that could describe Kirk that can't describe the other captains? Like what makes him a little different? They all have heart. They all have intelligence. They all have creativity. Kirk had a little bit more swagger, a little bit more machismo. Picard had a little bit more class.
He took more risks.
There
was never a time we saw Picard with a ripped shirt doing a boxing match.
God, I wish. First Contact, I was like, take it off.
Is he the no shirt in Chain of Command or all shirt?
Yeah, that wasn't.
We
saw.
That
was
okay,
a different
yeah.
setting.
But I
we
mean,
saw some cheek in Chain of Command.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of goodies in Captain's Holiday.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
I know, but I think the whole point of the Strange New Worlds finale was to show that Pike wasn't the same type of captain as Kirk. He wasn't willing to take the same risks, and that actually turns out to be what doomed the Federation, because Kirk's willingness to chase down that Romulan bird of prey and to destroy it is ultimately what saved the galaxy. Whereas Pike showing restraint, Pike going for peace, while Noble actually backfired very, very badly. So I think I mean that's kind of what makes Kirk different, and one of the reasons why I admire him. He's a fantastic captain because he has balls. He'll take that risk, and usually it works.
Okay. So one more question I had for you about For All Mankind before we move on. So they said that it's going to be, I'm just like such a fangirl about it. So they said that it's going to take place another 10-year jump, like in the 2000s. But do you know where are they going to go explore next? Or do you think they'll find life on Mars? Like any clues?
No, they didn't give me anything like that. I'll tell you, actually, I was 3 episodes behind. I hadn't seen 4, 5, 6, and 7 of season 3 yet. So when the interview started, I actually asked, I was talking to Ron Moore, and I mentioned that to him. And I said, so I'm a little bit behind, but if you have to spoil during the interview, it's okay. He's like, no, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Big stuff happens. So we actually kind of deliberately avoided, stuff leading towards the finale of season 3, just because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't even fully caught up.
I mean, their finales are epic.
There was a comment in one of the interviews that said that they there might be subsequent seasons that potentially even go into the future. I remember seeing that.
Yes, they did say something about it being a multi-generational tale.
Yeah.
So cool.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh, I can't even wait for Friday.
I do want to see For All Mankind because a lot of Star Trek fans and smart people say that it's really great. And Ronald D. Moore, we all know is great. You don't have to sell me on Ronald D. Moore.
Thompson and David Weddle.
Oh,
right.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
you don't have to sell me on that.
Linda Park is actually in it, so there's your Enterprise connection.
Yep.
It's
fabulous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now, real quick, who was it? Jesse Taggart. I think when we were talking about what word would be a good descriptor for Kirk, he says coy boy, but then he corrects himself and says cowboy, but coy boy works too, right?
Sure.
It's like Spock.
Yeah. I was thinking cowboy too, but there's a little bit of cowboy in Anson Mount as well.
Oh, true. Good
Rise the horse.
Yeah. A little bit of a cowboy himself.
All right, so we're almost out of time, but we do have to mention
love. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
We do have to mention comic book. Okay, that was good. Steve Miller Band. Good knowledge there, Mohammed. Some people call me Maurice.
Comic book competence of love.
Comicbook.com says Gargoyles Dynamite launching new comics series, continuing animated show. Oh, it's just the comics series. I thought it was an animated thing. Okay, well, that's
that
cool,
was like
I
a
guess.
million TNG people.
Yeah, so I was like, cool, bring them back for voiceover, but that's not going to happen if it's comic book. But that's still cool, I guess.
Okay, and then also just to round it out, like the Orville panel also was amazing, but there wasn't really any big news.
They're moving over to
except
Disney.
that they'll be on Disney also. But yeah. But there were some really cute pictures of Brennan Braga and Tom Costantino sitting next to each other on the panel. And they just kept both like looking in the same direction with like their arms on their face like this at the same time. So I was like screenshotting to send them the cute little, they were like little twins. And he responded to me, peace and bod, which was so cute.
Aw.
They're just, I love them.
Okay. Real quick, this is also from our pals over at trekmovie.com. Not too much here. We already know Star Trek Picard season 3 has a Khan level villain.
And then,
But also, it says John-Luke and Beverly tension in the Enterprise. So, oh boy, Anne-Marie is over the moon at this news.
I mean, especially those pictures that were coming out of them kissing. I was just like in heaven. And like on Twitter, it was like all people I know from Twitter, Picard/Beverly. It was just, everybody was going crazy. And I mean, there is like insider information that has been like revealed now that she could potentially be in every episode, depending on how they edit the episodes, which I'm just, I can't even wait.
She'll be fighting Laris.
Yeah. And Picard's gonna be like, ladies, please continue.
Let's go to the mirror universe.
Yeah, so Picard and Beverly, huh?
Yeah, and then obviously what we didn't talk about were all the Easter eggs that came out just in that teaser alone. And Terry Matalas was sitting on Twitter during it, also talking about like confirming and denying what people's ranks would be and other little details. And obviously the Dan Curry amazing new Klingon weapon and the House of Martok that's still on Worf's.
What's the new weapon? Like a Kurleth, I think is what he said. Kurleth, like Batleth or Mechleth. But yeah, so the big buzz too was Worf.
But he's not a captain, which could also, that's like, is that something to do with Dominion War and the direction he went after, or is it still from Heart of Stone, where Sisko told him he'll never make captain because of that Jadzia decision?
Well, remember, about 30 years have passed since the end of DS9 and Picard season 3. It's been a long time. Think about how much has happened to you in 30 years.
Totally, which is the angle during the panel when they were talking about Picard and like his inspiration, especially for season 3 going into it, was a lot of thinking about, and also when they pitched him the show, he was just like, I don't really know, how much more we could do with Picard. And they were like, are you the same person you were? Is Patrick Stewart the same person you were in the 90s? So like, exactly, perfect point.
But didn't Patrick Stewart also say that he would say yes to a Picard movie? I remember him saying something like that.
He did, but then Alex Kurtzman whispered to him and was like, and it was kind of weird because then he's like, oh, I guess he's saying that this is kind of like the TNG movie. So
right.
Really
I thought he was saying like,
weird, hilarious
we're working on one.
Well, but then Alex Kurtzman like said, but I think he's like very lovely and gracious. He always says, well, we can't rule it out. But yeah, I mean, he also has said that in interviews last week. Who knows? But it's interesting that Patrick Stewart would say that, because like, does that mean he'd be open to coming back again?
I mean, he's 80 though. Like, can he? I don't know. What do you think, Melissa?
Or maybe that's the film that's coming out in June of 2023.
Maybe that's why all the Pine people, they're like, we haven't heard anything. It's because you're not in this one, bro.
Yeah. Again, he was just in Doctor Strange. That just came out this year.
Exactly.
He was just in that.
Be hilarious. What do you think,
like
John? You're quiet again.
Forever.
What?
Makes me think you know something on Star Trek.
I don't know anything about the Star Trek movies. Certainly not about a Picard movie.
Okay.
I'm excited for season 3.
Don't make us rewind to when we say these things and then enhance your face to see if we can get a reaction clue.
Yeah. We have done that.
We've done that before.
Where we're watching panelists' reactions to see if certain bits of news are a surprise to them, or if they like this news, or if they don't like. And you can pick up a lot of things, and you can surmise a lot of things in these panels that people record when you're watching the other panelists' reactions to what people are saying. It's pretty interesting. We'll have to tell you when we're not live, a couple of them. Okay. Looks like we're just about out of time.
Oh, hi, Mai from Tokyo, by the way.
Mai's our good friend. Thanks for joining us, Mai, all the way live from Tokyo. Thank you for playing with us. All right. It is time for the Star Trek Day trivia question of the day. We actually have a pretty big budget for special effects. Check it out.
Almost the size T-Rexes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Let's go look at the pylons again.
I love that line.
That was beautiful.
But yeah, I do think on Star Trek Day, we're going to get some news, right? I mean, we always get some kind of news on Star
get
Trek
something.
Day.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'll need Discovery news at some point.
But will we get any little nuggets in Star Trek Las Vegas, the 56-year mission, which is only 4 weeks from now?
Oh,
I
it's
feel
not
like
official
It's not
anymore.
official.
Yeah, and
so-
they kind of like blew their wad. I mean, like they put
There
out
were
a
some
lot of
other things
stuff.
that I heard that like weren't actually officially reported, but they're from very knowledgeable sources who maybe slipped. Like, for example, the crossover episode is going to be later on in the season of Strange New Worlds.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know why that would make sense? Because one aspect of the crossover that nobody talks about is that Jerry O'Connell is married to Rebecca Romaine. They're both first officers on their ships, and it's a possibility that they could meet on screen, either animated or
they need
in live
to
action.
kiss. So all the nerds can be like, "Oh my God, they're married in real life. This is so fun and romantic."
And Ransom needs to rip his shirt off.
That would be brilliant.
That would be so cute.
That would be really funny with that.
And I think, isn't Jonathan Frakes directing that episode?
Yes.
Which will
He
be
needs to rip his
freaking
shirt
awesome.
off
And then
too.
Jonathan Frakes is also doing some Picards. So we're just in for a huge treat. But I don't know what else they could possibly.
Ransom is
report.
basically first season Riker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, push to the
Kind of.
extreme.
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, which Star Trek actor originally devised the Klingon language?
Mark Leonard.
Is it A, James Doohan, B, Mark Leonard, C, Leonard Nimoy, or D, Michael N. Sara? The question again is, which Star Trek actor originally devised the Klingon language? Is it A, James Doohan, B, Mark Leonard, C, Leonard Nimoy, or D, Michael N. Sara? Okay. Whew. Can you believe we knocked out all that news? That's a lot of stuff. So speaking of the news, here's what's in the news for the week. Yesterday, the seventh rule.
Hey, what was the answer?
Oh, it was
Well, you're going
after-
to find out in
to
just a
wait.
moment.
I see. Okay.
Here's- It's kind of
Sorry.
a trick we do, so people have to listen to the shows that are
Okay.
coming up because they're like, they got to know what's the answer to the
Well,
question
Really
if it's a
fast
good
though,
question.
because last night's was so good. You have to just mention what was on Seventh Rule last night.
Oh, like what I was just doing right now. So yesterday, the Seventh Rule released our review of Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 3, After Image with Esri Dax herself, Nicole DeBoer. So check that out. It was a great time. She's a wonderful human and a wonderful Trill. It was a good time and we had fun with her. Actually, before that, we also had the first segment of Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 7, our review of that with J.G. Hertzler, Martok himself. So that was really fun. Right after the news that Martok was going to be in Lower Decks, now we got Martok doing the review of Once More Unto the Breach. So check those out on the Seventh Rule. Once More Unto the Breach and After Image with Nikki DeBoer and J.G. Hertzler. Tomorrow, Falling Towers Watch the First podcast. I don't remember what episode. Mohammed, do you remember?
Martin.
Ma'in. That's
the
right.
one.
That's right. So check that out for everybody that remembers. And who was our guest? Was it Kelly? Yeah. Kelly Park, actress Kelly Park, out in Iowa right now. She joined us to review Martin. If you guys all remember that show, that's a fun one. That's on the Falling Tower YouTube channel. Then on Thursday, the Seventh Rule. Oh, no new Star Trek. Nothing new coming out from the Seventh Rule there, but it will come back soon. Friday, we have the Orville and Chill live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry, I was just remembering that I didn't mention the time for Falling Towers Watch first. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's tomorrow. Friday, the Orville and Chill, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's gonna be live. We're gonna talk about Orville.
Gonna be
New
the
Horizons.
first part of the two-parter finale, so it's gonna be massive.
Episode 9.
So,
I've been getting longer
Seth
too. So I wonder if
MacFarlane.
this one will be like an hour and 20, hour 30.
They're getting crazy long. The last one was almost 90 minutes. Seth MacFarlane himself said, you should watch this upcoming episode. Never mind that he says that every week, but we believe him. He does.
He's right.
He's they're
right.
saying it every week.
He does.
But they're great.
Yeah.
And then, of course, on the 7th rule on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Pacific, we will release our first segment of the review of Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 8, The Siege of AR-558.
Gosh.
Melissa
With-
Longo will be there,
Heartbreaking.
as will showrunner Ira Stephen Bear joins us to talk about that one. So it's always an amazing time when he joins us. We always learn so much great stuff. Anyway,
Amazing.
John, the answer is, wait, let's see. John's like, blah, blah, blah. What's the answer? The answer, oh, let's see in people's guesses. The answer is A, Jimmy Doohan. Anybody know that one? I guessed
Yes.
that, but I didn't
Oh
know.
yeah,
That makes
that's
sense.
always the
That makes
answer for
sense.
new languages. Yeah, that was a.
Yeah, that
I've
makes
had
sense.
that question before in Star Trek Pub Quiz.
Yeah. The person who did the later things was Mark Okren. So that may have
Yes.
been who you were thinking about, John.
All right, Melissa Longo, could you please tell everybody where they can tweet at you and attack you and nitpick you for everything that you just said today, or tell you what great stuff you say?
Now, if they have bad stuff to say, Melissa, write to me. But just send the good stuff to her.
Yeah, and that will go in a special file.
And I'll just delete it, by the way.
Yeah, let's delete it.
Melissa Longo. You can find me. Just type in Malissa. And yes, it is Melissa, not Melissa.
There's an example of her creation, by the way, too. It's the chat pack shirt.
Beautiful. It's got all the
Nice.
aliens. Mohammed, where can people find you online?
Sure, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Mafnoor, M-A-F like Frank, Noor and like November, O-O-R. Or on YouTube is Biotrekkie, B-I-O-T-R-E-K-K-I-E.
Aaron Fraser says the Orville is genius. Agreed. Good stuff. Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, where can people find you online, and does it have the number 1 in it?
Yeah, Twitter at Anne-Marie Siegel1.
And can I just shout out Anne-Marie, like give her a big, big shout out for all of her amazing knowledge that she always has.
Thank
It's
you.
pretty incredible, your brain and how much it can hold.
It's
Thank
true.
you. That's why
So
I'm going.
true.
That's why I'm going show
Totally.
you singing after this. Erase it.
Anne-Marie, after 24 hours of cramming Comic-Con stuff, I bet
Oh
she's
my
gonna
God.
nap so hard. She's gonna eat 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and nap so hard.
It's true. So much for
We really
Nice.
appreciate you a lot, Anne-Marie. Thanks for all you do.
Actually,
you.
that was a really funny post you posted the other
Okay,
day, Anne-Marie,
so
where
I
you
was
said
like, how many calories are in grilled cheese? Because I was like, I'm eating these a lot. And
you
then
Googled it.
yeah, so I Googled it, and then Google's like response for what I should be Googling is how many are in 2 grilled cheeses, that is my order. I always order 2 at once, but I was like, whoa, is my phone spying on me?
It is. It's like, Anne-Marie, don't you mean 2?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
John, where can everybody find you and your great work on Screen Rant and such?
Well, you can go to screenrant.com to read my articles and also all the other fabulous articles we have on there. Our Comic-Con coverage will be going up all week long. You can check screenrant.com. And also the Screen Rant Plus YouTube channel will have the interviews from Comic-Con. Otherwise, you can follow me for my specific stuff at Back of the Head on Instagram and Twitter. And I'll be tweeting out my interviews with the cast of Strange New Worlds, of Lower Decks, and also Ryan's favorite show, For All Mankind.
Yay.
He's predicting the future. This guy, he knows the future.
What's the
He's
what's
like,
the
I've
origin of
seen
the
it.
back of the
Okay.
head thing? Like, why,
Yeah.
why is it? Why do you say
Yeah.
that,
What's on the back of your head?
John?
I'm sorry,
what's the
what was that?
origin? What's the origin of back of the head? Why is that your handle?
It's a wrestling thing. It's an old WWF wrestling thing. There was a wrestling. The commentator was Gorilla Monsoon back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And you know, along with being a wrestler, he used to be a doctor. So whenever a wrestler landed on his head in the ring, he would say that guy landed on his external occipital protuberance area. And whoever his commentator would say, the what? And he'd say the back of the head. And I just that
Nice.
stuck in my head since I was
This
like
is
10 years old.
awesome.
It was usually Jesse
So-
the Body Ventura, right?
Yes, it was Jesse Ventura, usually.
Okay, so
You go,
we
oh,
need-
come on, Monsoon.
Yes,
We
exactly.
need some demonstrations,
Of what? Of me landing in the back of my head?
wrestling moves.
Ryan's weird wrestling move recaps.
And everybody, you can find me on Falling Tower or the Seventh Rule, or right here on Virtual TrekCon. You can find those on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you like. Check them out. Falling Tower, Virtual TrekCon, the Seventh Rule, and check them out, especially the Seventh Rule, wherever you find your podcasts. That is a good time to. You can listen to Deep Space Nine talk. We also cover all new Star Trek series. Myself, Sirach Lofton, Melissa Longo plays along. Everybody comes in. We get Mike McMahon. We get all kinds of people from new Star Trek series joining in the fun, and we appreciate them when they do.
Oh, and I should
boy.
mention too, nobody's grilled cheeses are as good as my mom's. Okay.
JR Poole says, "Hey Ryan, explain this wrestling move." Now I remember what Melissa's
Yes.
talking about. That's right.
Exactly.
What was I? Oh yeah, I was doing. Oh, John, I was trying to explain to them P.D. Williams. Remember the definition of definition, the Canadian Maple Leaf guy, right?
Yeah,
Remember his
the
finishing
Canadian
move,
Destroyer.
the Canadian Destroyer. And he would
Yes.
do that flip over into a power bomb that kind of never really worked, but it looked really cool. And I was
Right,
trying
right.
to explain it to them, and they just thought it looked like naughty
No,
or something.
It was fun to watch it.
Because I was like, you get
Oh yeah, no,
you
that
get the
was
guy-
naughty.
and you get and I don't know, whatever.
If you're
But you
watching this
know.
right now, make sure to click like on the video, and also right after it's done, reload the video and then put in a comment and let people know how much you loved it. So,
Yes, thanks very much. So everybody,
Mhm.
that's a good point. In order to leave a comment below, you got to refresh this video when it ends. So please do that. Keep the conversation going. Let us know what your
Mhm.
favorite wrestling move is.
And hit
And-
the like button.
Okay, and really
Yeah.
fast, the person who taught me the comments trick is Lord Ogheim, who I don't see in the live chat. But if you're watching this later, it's his birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday.
Aww.
Happy
Aw.
birthday,
Happy
Bill in
birthday.
Montana.
Mhm.
All right. My live from Tokyo says Moondog Maine and Pat Patterson. Wow, old school in it for
Oh, I
us.
thought we were talking about
really?
Doggy. Okay.
Okay. Next week, we'll talk about all of our favorite wrestlers like Bad News Brown,
Okay.
Junkyard Dog, the Rougeau brothers. I used to root for the Rougeau brothers because they were French, but then they were like really French Canadian. So I'm like, whatever.
Since we're on this subject, I might as well also plug the fact that I spoke to the superstars of All Elite Wrestling at Comic-Con, which is also going to be interview is also going to be up on Screen Rant this week.
Wow,
which is a-
AEW.
Yeah, which is a very big deal for me because I helped put that deal together. I helped put AEW and Screen Rant together. So
Wow.
Wow.
yeah,
That is
it's
huge.
very
They are
cool.
coming up in a big way.
They are coming up.
Cool. So everybody check that out. You didn't think you were going to get wrestling talk, did you? But you did. No escaping it. All right. I think that's about it, right, guys? We got to run. Muhammad's hungry. Melissa's tired. Amory needs her
I'm
grilled
starving.
cheese.
Yeah. I'm
We're
totally
gonna-
gonna get some.
We will see you soon. And hey, whenever you guys want wrestling talk, put it on the main viewer.